Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Farscape, Season 2, Episode 13. Look at the Princess, Part 3, The Maltese Crichton. The power struggle within the royal family is played out to the end. All your hopes for this episode got played out in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, that was weird. And I can't remember if I talked about this on the podcast, but I really wanted that the son to die, and then he did. So that was another thing that made me happy.
I don't remember if you mentioned that, but I took it for granted. He's a really annoying character. He's petty and power hungry.
I specifically wanted him to die a horrible death, and that happened as well. So I was very satisfied.
And we got to see his mangled, melted body. How did you find the conclusion to this three-parter?
Really good. I like this third part a lot. And it makes me like the second part less, even though I didn't even... The first and third part are pretty good. They're solid.
So the build-up led to a good payoff.
It went in directions I didn't see coming. They addressed little weird issues I had or questions. And I really like the conclusion. I like the choice that John had to make and how he was willing to be restatued and how heartbreaking that was to have him see his child and have to abandon his child, and then finding out that John and Aaron are compatible. The way that plays out is beautiful. How it goes back and forth a bit.
The last scene, that's a fantastic use of not dialogue. They don't need dialogue.
No dialogue would have ruined it. It's all there. We know everything we need to know.
Yeah, we've spent 2 hours total time through these episodes in this world. So everything was loaded in place.
It's a little odd. I didn't like the Aaron storyline almost the entire 3 episodes, but I really like how it ends.
The angst is not that much fun to watch, but kind of adds a lot of flavor to personal relationships. I don't know.
I found the rock climbing and the injuries and dealing with that, I found all that really funny. I don't know if that was supposed to be. I don't think it was. But this guy is terrible at rock climbing. He's trying to impress Aaron, who doesn't really care about him. Then they fall off. But then Aaron is just annoyed the whole time. She's too capable for me to feel like she's in danger, that she might die out there. She immediately makes a cast, and then she's dragging him. It was all very comical to me.
There's no sense of danger there. That guy was just rubbish.
Yeah, he was bad at
Such
everything.
an idiot. I don't think I mentioned him in the previous 2 episodes. What's his name? Dragon. Yeah, I don't like him. He's too cool for school. And it turns out he's a massive noob.
I love that he wanted another shot. Hey, come on, give me another chance. Even though all this all this happened.
Okay, I like that. That's likable. Well, I said I like it when characters don't give up.
I like how annoyed Aaron was the whole time.
He's such a baby. He comes out with all this mushy stuff about, emotional scars. Being in love is the best.
Blah, blah, blah.
It's so good if Aaron just got a rag and put it in his mouth. Not to kill, just to silence him. Kaheno plotline ended. Let's talk about that first. Get that out of the way. Unsurprisingly, Moya is not dead.
Who would have seen that coming?
Oh yeah, what
Everyone.
a surprise. It was a test all along.
I did laugh that Zan ghost busted him and sucked him up into the engine.
It seems like she's going to turn it off at the last moment. She just sucks him in. And then she's standing there, kind of confused, like, oops.
I committed God homicide. Godicide.
Deicide.
Deicide.
All in a day's work.
I can understand Moya being turned back on, I guess. Moya's living, but is mechanical in some way. Or maybe I'm misinterpreting living ship. But it didn't make as much sense to me that Pilot could be brought back to life.
Oh, that would be awkward.
Moya comes back and Pilot's still dead.
Kaheno's just looking over, like, oh, I didn't think of that.
Didn't account for that.
Well, he's not God. He's just a powerful entity.
Yeah, and you can argue he was just close to death and resembled death and wasn't actually dead. But he looked pretty dead.
Kaheno has the power to imbue life. They built the Leviathans and presumably the pilots.
Oh, that would make sense.
Which is something we raised in an earlier podcast, that it would be impossible for these creatures to evolve. Moya and pilots. Whatever pilot species is.
Polotians.
Sure. So presumably they're both engineered by the builders, and he maybe has the power to give life as he takes it away.
So the show is advocating creationism.
No. Because they met the dude that did it. He's an engineer, not a god. He's just a very good engineer. The ending of that plotline where Moya speaks, I found quite uplifting.
Does that mean you want me to ask you to sing?
I wouldn't subject people to that.
All right, maybe off mic.
What? They won't be in the podcast.
Yeah, but then I get to hear it.
Oh. You wanted additional sex scenes, and you kind of got one.
Kind of got one, and there were some sexually charged lines. She says,
yeah,
oh, God.
When John's trying to talk about going there overnight, and she says they have to wait until the next day.
I assume you do it well.
I don't really say that's very sexually charged. It's
okay.
More just like pretty bland innuendos.
And there's another one when she says she's moving slowly.
How do you feel about John and Genevieve? Is that her name?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Close enough.
About them having a nude frolic.
They're attractive people. Attractive people having some fun. I think John's brain is pretty scrambled right now. And he's probably thinks he's gonna die or has a good chance. So don't pass up some sexy time.
That seems fair. Ben Browder was surprised that there wasn't a fan reaction about Crichton frolicking with Genevieve.
If the surrounding circumstances were different, I could see outrage, but he's in... I didn't see a problem with it because of what he's gone through.
He's married.
Yeah, he committed adultery.
And he's got a girlfriend, kind of, Erin. I don't know if it's really his girlfriend, but, you know.
He has a pregnant wife and a girlfriend, and he still manages to frolic with another woman.
His future sister-in-law.
Ah!
Well, I mean, but your point is valid. Neither of them are invested emotionally in their family structure.
Yeah, I think that's why they're not real. They're just doing it because they can, and it's not.
Well, it's good exercise for one thing.
Well, yeah, there you go. They're just looking out for each other's health.
Sure.
I don't know. It sounds like I'm advocating for cheating on people, but
Oh, and it's contextual because he doesn't think he's going to end up with Aaron ever at that point. He thinks he's going to. Well, does he? I don't know. It's very debatable what's going to happen to him at that point from his perspective. They could forcibly make him a statue again.
he just recovered from being decapitated. Someone held a knife to his throat. He thought he was going to die soon.
I'm not actually against it. I'm fine with it. In fact, I don't know if many people are against it. Like I said, Ben Browder said he was surprised there wasn't more reaction.
Are those his specific words? Maybe he was surprised they weren't more happy about the increased sexiness.
It's not his exact words. The increased sexiness was a network thing.
Oh, those were network notes. Please dial up the sexiness.
And make the show more sexy. Because, why is space not sexy? Well, other sci-fi shows, especially a lot of the ones with the sort of rigid structure to the ships and captains and first officers and all that, they're not very sexy.
Well, we're calling this episode sexy, but this episode also includes a guy dying in a vat of acid and decapitation.
Okay. Let's talk about Scorpius and Kagan, the Scarran, and all that stuff, because there's a lot going on there.
I really enjoy the reveal that Scorpius is tormented by his two halves. Drawn to the heat, but hates the heat.
Yes. So the Scarran says, and the rods in his brain are cooling rods. At the same time, Scorpius was hamming it up massively.
Yeah, but that all sounds correct.
Well, what he said was factually correct. Scarrans are cool with heat, and I've just confused myself by saying cool with heat. Yeah, and we know peacekeepers suffer heat delirium. Spacians, I should say.
It's neat that they took all of this established world building stuff and then wrapped it into one and then showed us these rods early on and didn't explain them, and then here we get to know what they actually are.
It's confusing to me. How much of this are they making up after the fact? Because he had those rods in the first or second episode where we meet him.
Yeah.
And they said he was a Scarran half-breed early on. I think in the very first episode as well. Although they didn't say half with what, they just said Scarran, half, and we didn't know what a Scarran was at that point. It does seem surprisingly well planned out.
I don't know if it was planned out or if they were just clever about taking all of these previously established things. Either way, I like the result. Why are you confused by it?
It's just really well put together.
You're used to shoddy TV writing?
To be honest, yeah, I am used to shoddy writing. When they drop a bunch of things in and then 20 episodes later it all comes together like a jigsaw puzzle, that's impressive in a way. Like, I'm fine if shows make stuff up and then later on they make something else up and it fits together well with what they made up previously, but you have this sense that it was constructed linearly. Here with Scorpius's backstory, that's not apparent that it was constructed in that manner. It seems very convincingly like it was thought of ahead of time, which is a good chunk of stuff to think about beforehand. Did they flesh out all characters to this depth?
My guess is they didn't have this planned out, and they were really good at piecing it together. The reason I guess that is the payoff took so long. We found out about those rods and his half Scaran ages ago.
But my point is that it's not obvious, though.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's rare that shows do things that are not obviously like world building on top of what exists. Like some shows are horrible for this. They build a world and they just add and add and add. It's like building a big pile of stuff. They don't expand it naturally. Like this feels like a really natural expansion of what we know about Scorpius.
It does, and there are no conflicts with what we've learned. At least none that come to my mind.
And the best part is, at the end of it, he just picks up some of the acid with his hand. He's not even bothered.
That's what his bath is made of.
It wouldn't surprise me. Scarans are tough. Like, really, really tough.
Yes.
I think he had that little thing on kill.
Oh, yeah.
And he shot Kagan like 30 times.
And then he made a horrible noise in the vat.
Did he? He didn't melt very convincingly.
No, he didn't. He just looked like a guy slowly sinking in some green water.
Well, Scorpius wasn't melted by the acid. Maybe Kagan wasn't either. He just can't swim. No, I'm drowning. Help.
You shouldn't leave your giant vats of acid exposed, and there should be a handrail there.
What is that place? Some foundry? Is that in the palace?
It's a fan's recreation of Terminator 2. They didn't get all the details right.
No, that's molten metal, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
It's more like the start of Batman, the Jack Nicholson one.
Oh, yeah. It must be in the palace, or at least adjacent.
It seems like an awfully dangerous thing to have lying around in the palace. Or anywhere. You're right, it's a health and safety nightmare. What was the point of it? What were all those chains doing?
So you can hang prisoners.
Why didn't they
None of that made sense.
Get some of the acid into like a vessel, put the head in, and then bury it somewhere?
Because that makes too much sense.
Why didn't they grind the head up? Oh, there's a big plot hole in this episode.
No security?
That's not a plot hole. Like, we've seen that their security is really poor.
Okay, what's the plot hole?
So someone beheads John, and they run in and say, "Oh no, we have to figure out where the head is." At no point do they ask Cotrella, who is a witness.
Ask who?
Cotrella, this Princess Cotrella, the other statue.
Oh, maybe she was sleeping.
Do they sleep as a statue?
I don't know. The
I
whole
guess.
statue thing is weird. Why can John see when his statue's eyes are closed? That bothered me.
Maybe you can only see the inside of his eyelids.
No, but he says nice dress to whatever her name is.
Yeah, Genevieve Charto.
Nailed it.
I mean, that could have been a lucky guess.
But you're right, I didn't think about that. She's right there.
Why didn't they check the big vat of acid? Why was there a thing for scooping things out of the big vat of acid, but the scoop melted? There's nitpicks, I guess. I'm willing to accept them, but there's certainly fair enough. Certainly odd.
The prince was a big fan of Batman, so he had a green acid tank made. And that's why it's in the palace. And that's why there are chains, and the props aren't supposed to be used. So the scoop, you're not supposed to actually use it in the acid. It's just there.
Was there a scoop in Batman?
I don't know. Maybe. It's for set dressing. He didn't mean it to be used. But then why would you have real acid?
Yes, well, Like we said, we don't know if it was real acid. Maybe Kagan just couldn't swim.
No, but the thing melted, the scoop.
It's just made of cardboard.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Scorpius put his hand in, and then he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, that's just water." I expected my fingers to melt off.
And John realized the uncanny resemblance, and that's why he says, "How Batman was that?"
Oh, he does mention Batman. Yeah, that's right.
See, this all makes sense.
So he's not talking about Doctor's Leap. He's just talking about the set. He's just got it in that moment.
Yeah, it was just weird timing. And then he didn't kill Scorpius because Batman doesn't kill.
Why didn't he kill Scorpius?
Because it would have felt like outright murder, and John's not a murderer.
There's one strange thing that I noticed when watching this. This is really weird. I mean, I understand why it's there. It's just strange to me. So Aaron and wait, I have his name, Dragon. Alright, she's dragging him through the rocks, through the rocky area. And they get spotted by a guy who says, "Do you need help?"
Yeah, I'm with you.
So that guy that waves to them, that's not the first time we've seen him.
Mr. Curly Hair?
Yeah.
Was he one of the guys who hit on Aaron in the first episode?
Yeah. After Dragon comes up, proposes to Aaron, and she says, "No, no, no." Then that guy turns up, and that's when she kisses Rigel. And he says, "I'm so happy for you."
So you think he was stalking her, or what? Where are you going with this?
I don't know. That's just what's weird to me. I mean, it's not weird because A, he's a dude that lives there and he could just be wandering around for some reason. I don't know why he was wandering around out there. And B, it makes sense that he's the same actor guy. It's just, what's that guy doing out there? Why is he wandering around in the rocks? I mean, I guess he's just going for a walk. And he's going to be silently judging Aaron.
Of course.
Because he thinks that she would have been with Rigel.
Well, you can be compatible with more than one person.
Well, okay, fair enough.
He was taking part in a traditional Sabatian pastime, which is walking through rocks. Not through, walking over rocks.
That commonly just called going for a walk.
No, you have to be going in rocky areas. It's not just walking.
It's a very specific pastime.
Yeah. Walking is too mundane.
But walking on rocks is slightly less mundane. It's just the smallest amount less mundane enough to put it over the limit of what is a suitable pastime.
Yeah.
Whatever. I was looking on the wiki and I found out what happened to the Crichton statue.
Does it still exist? Please. Please. Does it still exist?
The Crichton statue remained at the top of the stairs at Jim Henson's creature shop at Homebush Bay for the rest of the series.
So after the series, it was decapitated again?
I don't know. They probably stashed it or sold it off. It's still out there somewhere, though. Somewhere in the universe. Some of the sound effects in this episode were really weird.
Such as?
When Dragon swooped Aaron in his arms, it made a whooshing sound. There's a few sort of whooshing and slashing sounds that were really over the top. Someone threw one of the kissing potions.
Oh, yeah, and there was a whoosh.
Yeah, what's her name? Genevieve. I wish they said her name more often. It's hard to remember. Yeah, it made an overblown whoosh sound. They do it a bit, like it's on slaps and stuff, they do it. And that's kind of okay, but when every little thing is doing that noise, it gets really weird.
The atmosphere on that planet is such that it promotes whooshing.
It's really thick and muggy.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible.
That's why he was so eager to leave.
That's why everyone wears really loose clothing.
That too? To combat the wishiness.
Sure. Do you have a quote from this episode which you would like to share?
Well, there you go. Good guys win for once. And I have a child that I'll never know.
It's kind of sad, but it's really just his child in terms of DNA.
Still his child.
I guess. He was an unknowing donor for the child. I'm not trying to play that down. It's commendable that he feels responsible for the child, even though it was basically conceived without his consent or knowledge, which is the strange part.
Given all that, he's still adamant that the child have a father, and I like how honorable he was.
That's kind of built into humans, into people. We're driven to ensure our genes are successfully passed on to the next generation.
Sure, but as you pointed out, there are significant levels of detachment in this case.
It's still hard. He had to see his daughter. I think that was probably not helpful.
No, that would make it much harder.
But when they ask, he has to say yes. What if he never knew? He had the chance to find out and never found out. That would, I think, be worse.
You're right, that's worse. I know I would say yes. I would be too curious. How could you say no?
I guess that machine, which we sang the praises of a few episodes ago, is a blessing and a curse. I still think it's mostly a blessing, though.
How is it a curse?
Because he has to, because the knowledge is there, he has to say, yeah, we don't have to, but if that machine didn't exist, he'd just say, well, our kids that I will never know will be born one day with my DNA. When the machine's there, you have the possibility to see it. And then even if you reject that question is still there. Like, it's not just a child that you are completely detached from because it'll be born 100 years in the future. You have the chance to actually see the child, a glimpse into the future. So, yeah, it's a curse for John because he feels he has to say yes, and then it's very sad.
I see it as a blessing.
Generally, yeah.
He's getting the chance, in a way, to meet his child that he otherwise would not be able to because of physical limitations.
It creates an emotional connection that didn't need to be created and probably doesn't really benefit him. But that's fine. Like Dragon says, something mushy about feelings. Can't really remember what he said. But I'm sure he'd have something vacuous to say about this.
He would say, it hurts because it's supposed to hurt, and you're alive because of the hurting. Something like that.
I already feel myself starting to sleep. It hurts because I fell off a cliff.
Pains me too.
Shall we progress to the subsequent installment?
You mean go to the next episode?
You got it.